My first question is just, I know you're kind of new to this franchise. Is there anything that you specifically wanted to bring to the world of Expendables as you were stepping in?
Like I was totally thrilled when they asked me to come in and direct the film. Then it was really important to me as when I asked them, I said, look, I don't want to reinvent the brand because I think the brand's great. And I think the brand is what the audience expects. And I would really like to go back tonally to the original Expendables that Sly did, lean into that even more, make sure it's hard R. We're not going soft, PG-13, and really maintain that tongue-in-cheek tone of fun because that's what Expendables is. I'm like, people, our lives are already dire and sometimes mostly miserable, but it's nice to pay money and go have some fun for 2 hours. And that's what Expendables is, right? And so if people leave the theater going, dude, that was a lot of fun, then we achieved our goal.
Yeah. And I spoke to your producers and they mentioned going back to the hard R as well. Was that something that you all had to kind of fight anyone for, or did it just feel natural to kind of go back to that?
I was supernatural because realistically, it was already an establishment of the brand. And for whatever reason, I wasn't a part of the third, I wasn't a part of the franchise before the fourth, but there was a decision to go PG-13 on the third. And I don't understand. I understand the economics, why they thought that would work, but sometimes brands are known for what they're known for. And the minute you take it out, there's a reason they don't do as well. So I was excited that they wanted to get back on brand with, Expendables rated R.
Yeah, yeah, for sure. I loved finding out that you are a former stunt performer, right, and coordinator. Um, does that affect the way that you direct films like this?
100%. Yeah. When you're a stuntman, you are blessed enough to have what I call see the world in a different perspective than most get to. And especially being a part of action, you're first person. And you always want the audience, when you're now a filmmaker, to maybe be more immersive in the experience of action and be a part of it rather than just sit back and watch it. And I feel like for me, it does help me tell my stories in a different way of really letting the audience participate a little bit more, which I think inherently gives them a little bit more thrill. And that for me all comes from my stunt background.
Yeah. And I did an interview with your stunt coordinator who said, Jason was really into doing his own stunts. He kind of wanted to do everything himself. Do you have a preference? Like, do you want actors to get into the thick of things, or is it kind of dependent on the scene?
First of all, I need to understand if you understood every word of Alan's.
We emailed back and forth, so we did.
Okay,
Yeah.
I just want to know if you spoke Cantonese. That'd have been awesome.
No, I wish.
That's great. So, look, I have been lucky to have worked with really physically talented actors. And most of the time, you're talking about Jackie Chan, right? When you got Sly and Jason and all these guys. And then when I did Act of Valor with real Navy SEALs, you're playing in a toolbox with crazy, amazing tools, right? And you just want to use them the best way you can. And sometimes you have actors like that are better than the stunt double. And so you're asking them, hey, man, can you do me a favor, bro? I need you to do this because you look better than your stunt double. And Jason's one of those guys. He's really talented. And the way he fights is extremely specific to his style.
And this series is known for kind of having fun with itself a little bit and being like over the top and funny and thrilling. What's it like to capture all that while still trying to have at least some kind of like an emotional core and through line? Is that a challenge?
Yeah, I think it, having a range of emotion in these kinds of movies is really complicated because tongue in cheek is important, and finding the comedic moments in the action is literally what Expendables is all about, right? And the interesting thing with comedy in action is it can deflate the tension because it becomes fun rather than tense. And walking that line is really delicate. And when you need the audience to maybe go a different direction with the story emotionally, sometimes you got to pull back on the comedy or it'll deflate what you're trying to do.
Oh, that's interesting. This movie also does a lot of focus on a kind of a new batch of people, like the new blood. Was there anybody new to the franchise that you were particularly excited to work with?
I was particularly excited to work with Tony Jaa and Iko. They're both incredible fight guys, and especially in their region, just super movie stars. And they are the Jackie Chans of their time now, right? Where they do all their own fights and everything. So when you get to go on set with them and you get to watch them do what they do, it's really thrilling, man, because you're like, that's really them. That's shit. They are amazing. And they are. So it is exciting because I wasn't around for the Bruce Lees of that era. And so for me to be a part of an era of fight film stars is exciting.
When I was emailing with Alan, I think he mentioned maybe it was Jason's and Iko's big fight scene. Maybe there was no rehearsal or something. Like it sounded like the schedule on this was maybe tough. Is that the case?
It was. Well, we had designed, so Alan had designed the entire fight sequence for the big fight between Jason and Iko. And I told him, I said, dude, this has got to be creative. We got to go back to your roots. It's got to be violent and creative and exciting. And we choreographed it for a while, showed it to those actors. They were stoked on it, had some ideas. But when it came to actually shooting it, we didn't have time to rehearse it. So we had to just shoot it in big sections. And luckily, Jason and Iko are fantastic at fighting, so they could pick up the choreography extremely fast on the day. And we were filming it that we would just do sections at a time, and they did a great. I'm proud of that fight. It's really fun.
That fight's incredible. The fight with all of Tony Jaa's stuff is incredible too. That was like, yeah, I loved it. I'm curious. You've done action heavy films before, as you kind of mentioned. What is the biggest challenge on this that was like unique to Expendables?
One of the things that I thought would be exciting and probably wasn't thinking through how challenging it would be was the Libya sequence. They originally came in on these assault vehicles, got out and went on foot, and it turned into a foot chase firefight. And I thought, well, that kind of feels dumb to me. Why don't we have these cool vehicles? Why don't they just accomplish all of this, but on the move the whole time? And so they're fighting and jumping between vehicles and fighting and shooting each other. And that was a much tougher feat than I was aware of, because we were trying to do it all for real. So that made it way more complicated. But I think we're worth it. It's fun. Definitely different.